wail of an occasional foghorn. When I drink silently, my heart quietly sobs. And when I think of that girl, I sing out a fisherman's song. When I sip liquor slowly, lingering loves come dancing back. And when the night grows lonely, I sing out a fisherman's song. So in comparison, this is the man, he's drinking. He's got his drink. For the woman, she's there to pour his drinks for him, but this is all about him having his nostalgic memories. Now, I'm going to play a version of this. It's by Aki Yoshino, a female singer, but she's singing this man's song. So even though I said men are men and women are women, sometimes men will sing women's songs and women will sing men's songs.
Quick question.
Sure.
Do you also have his version of it?
I do not. Right now I just have this one version, but it's a popular song. And Enka, very traditional, so I will give you a sumo postcard for asking your question.
Oh, no. Thanks. Nice.
But this is Funauta, fisherman's song.
酒はぬるめの灌漑、魚は炙ったイカでいい、女は無口な人がいい、明かりはぼんやり灯りゃいい、しみじみ飲めばしみじみと思い出だけが行き過ぎる、涙がポロリとこぼれたら歌い出すのさ船歌を、大きのかもめに深酒させてよ、愛しいあのことよ、朝寝する団長ね、店には飾りがないがいい、窓から港が見えりゃいい、流行りの歌などなくていい、時々無敵がなればいい、ほろほろ飲めばほろほろと心がすすり泣いている、あの頃あの子を思ったら歌い出すのさ船歌を、ポツポツ飲めばポツポツと未練が胸に舞い戻る、夜更けて寂しくなったなら歌い出すのさ船歌を、
So I let this one go to the end because for me, this is why I love Enka. This one was written in a minor key. Definitely a lot more passion. Definitely you could hear the sadness in this one. Now for me, Enka is very different from the kind of music that I used to listen to. So when I sang Izakaya, it was an upbeat song, and I thought it was very different. But when I heard this, I actually felt something out of it. And the thing about Japan for me is I love the rain. So when you're listening to this music and it's raining outside, you're definitely transported to a different place, and you're no longer living in your head. You're no longer feeling American. You're feeling, I'm in Japan. And one thing about Japanese apartments is they don't have as much insulation. And the windows are single pane. So what that means is when it's raining, you can hear the rain. And then when this kind of music's playing, there's just so much melancholy. It's gray outside. The rain's gently tapping on the windows, and you're just thinking, man, this is why I came to Japan. Because I wanted to get away, and I wanted to find something different. And this kind of music definitely transports you to a different sort of place.
Quick question. So, what was the name of the man who wrote this song? And what was the name of the woman who sang this version?
Well, the woman who sang it is Aki Yashiro,
Okay, got that.
and she did it in 1998, and this was a big hit for her. So she's singing about a fisherman. The other one, Yoko Nagagawa, in 1995, singing Tsurarete. That was, I'm not sure if it was a hit for her, but definitely it's a known song.
Wait, but I thought you said Funa Uta. Oh, so it's Aki Yashiro's song? But
Well,
she wrote it in the perspective of a man, or?
Well, let me take a step back. So in a lot of Enka, a lot of songs are written by songwriters, and then they're sung by different people. So it's kind of like that old school 1950s, you got your writers, Dean Martin, Frank Sinatra, all the jazz people, they sang these different songs. And in the world of Enka, it's the same sort of vibe. You've got songwriters, you've got singers.
But there wasn't a man who sung this song. Just curious.
Let's call it a maybe. Let me get back to you on that one.
Okay, I mean, I can look it up too.
I love it. I love the words in this song, and I love how it worked. But it just so happens that this version, sung by a woman singing a man's song, you do see a bit of crossover. We have a question in the back.
Yeah, actually two questions.
Sure.
One of which is during the song I noticed in the very beginning, the pre-vocal part, there was piano and I believe it was oboe.
Oh, yes.
Which is unusual, and that stopped, and the oboe came back at the very end. Is that sort of normal for Enka songs in terms of they had strings during the singing, but the other instruments sort of start in and tail off?
Well, I don't have a definite answer for that question. I will say, you will have an intro. A lot of times you'll hear strings in the beginning, and then you've got the ending. There's some sort of coda at the end. You will finish off with strings. In terms of other instruments, yeah, I mean, I've heard some of the traditional Japanese instruments. With the oboe, when I used to play classical music, I've heard that oboe is considered the most melancholy instrument out there. So I think this definitely makes this song.
The second question I was going to ask
Sure.
about is sort of, is it common for Enka music to be used in programs, TV and things? I asked that one because the one Japanese live-action show that I've seen a number of episodes of had a number of inset songs that seemed to be Enka songs. Typically in a downbeat, it was a sad situation or something like that. This was, the show was Aberimbo Shogun.
Aberimbo Shogun, do you know that one at the end? He's a royal man, but he walks around in the countryside. He's kind of like an itinerant traveler. But then at the end, when he figures out who's causing problems in the small town, he rips open his shirt and you see his royal tattoo and all the townspeople bow down to him. It's over the top, but it's good fun. So if you ever, Aberimbo Shogun, yes. Enka, very traditional. So you've got these traditional dramas. So yeah, Enka would be definitely something they would play. A lot of nighttime dramas, sort of drinking man's detective shows, they'll have a lot of Enka. So it's not sweet and sunny, that's for sure. It's definitely kind of man stuff.
The feel that I get from a lot of this music is like being transported to like an older time. But when did Enka as a style actually start being sung?
So Enka as a style, it started at the end of the Meiji era. So that was kind of after our Civil War. I don't know if you ever saw the last that Tom Cruise movie where he goes off. So I mean, it's Tom Cruise or whatever, but it is talking about the end of the Shogun era, moving to parliamentary democracy. So Enka was considered a political song. There were no political parties in Japan, and having political dissent was not a good thing. So what would happen is the new candidates for the new parties, they would send out their Enka singers to sing their message out in the streets. So it was considered more of a political movement, and then over the years it evolved into kind of popular song, and then eventually Enka as we know it. But yeah, the roots started in politics. Nephew.
Yeah, so would you say that this, like a subgenre of music was more popular in rural areas of Japan or more in the condensed city areas? Like, which people took more of a liking to this genre?
Yeah, I don't know exactly. I will say Enka was more popular back in the 50s and 60s, and I'll get into a little bit of the economics and sort of the geography as we move on. But I'd say it's more of an older generation, I know that for sure. In terms of what areas, I'll talk a little bit about it later, but going north is considered like the land of Enka. When you break up with somebody, go north. When you feel sad, go north. That's just the way it is. Let's take one last question and move on.
So I noticed in the song that it switched between like very beat driven, and then there was a slight pause, and then it was just very slow and dramatic. So what was being said during the I guess the medium speed movement as well as compared to when it got really slow and sort of more melancholy?
Well, with the Funauta, I mean, this is the one she's going on, give me warm sake, talking about broiled squids, or your traditional foods, your drinking foods. I'm going to sit here with my drink and go on. Well, since we're here, I'll just hand you my lyric sheet and take a quick look. So at this point, we've been talking about gender roles, we've been talking a lot about the feeling, but let's move on to a sense of place. We can get into some of the geography. So here's a map of Japan. Looking at kind of the middle, you see Mount Fuji. That's where close to Tokyo, Shizuoka. Moving north, you've got, at the very top, you've got Hokkaido, which is the second largest island. Honshu is the mainland. Moving west, if you see the Golden Temple, that's Kyoto, Kinkakuji. Moving further west, that little island over there is Kyushu. But yeah, Japan, it's got about 125 million people stuffed into an area the size of California. And we'll take a look at some of the music. So one of the first songs we're going to talk about, looking at the map, is Tokyo. So 10% of the population lives in Tokyo. That's the source of most of the income. Most of the business takes place in Tokyo. And I'm going to talk about a song called Yurakucho. This is an area of Japan that after the war, prosperity was starting to come here. And if you go to Yurakucho now, it's the kind of place where it's got an old vibe. So it's next to Ginza, which is, you've got like department stores, you can go buy your expensive handbags, Louis Vuitton, you've got your designers there. But on kind of the other side of the tracks, underneath the tracks, you've got these old drinking places. Sometimes when you walk through, you can smell smoke from the cooking yakitori or the grilled chicken, or you got the squid. There are a lot of little bars, and they'll take like plastic containers for where they put Kirin beer and flip them upside down, put on a piece of plywood, and you got a table so people are outside. And it's definitely got an old school vibe. But this next song I'll play for you it's called, talking about Yurakucho, this area of Tokyo. So it's Yurakucho de Aimasho, and it's written back in the 50s, and it's going to definitely have an old school feel about it. All right, so this particular song was just chock full of imagery. I'll throw another word to our vocabulary. Ame. Ame means rain. So he's talking about, I'm going to meet you at Yurakucho, Yurakucho de Aimasho. It's a rainy day. They're walking by the train tracks. They're going to go check out the roadshow movie. It's kind of like in the olden days, the movies would go from town to town. So, this is the end of the war. Tokyo's been bombed flat. Now they're rebuilding, and a little bit of prosperity starting to come to certain parts of Japan. And Yurakucho was starting to pick up.
Who was that singing?
This was Frank Nagai. This was a big hit for him.
Frank?
One thing, well, my email, I'll put it up at the end, but please send me an email. I can send you a list of all the different tracks. I was trying to think of the best way to do this. I've got playlists on my YouTube page, and I've got all these songs there so you can check them out. One thing I was trying to get YouTube in this room, because at the end we're going to have a little quiz, but it can't work, so what I'll do is, if you send me an email, I'll send you the link, and you can think about, it's the top 20 of the countdown. You can take a look at all the different imagery from 20 different artists and think about, okay, now that you've been here, you can learn more. But yeah, this song was just chock full of imagery of post-war Japan starting to rebuild, starting to be prosperous. But now, we're going to take a look at Yokohama. Is anyone familiar with Yokohama? So Yokohama is a port town. It's about 40 miles away from Tokyo. We have a military base there. So you got a lot of sailors, you got a lot of ships coming in and out of this town. This is kind of a wild place, Yokohama. This next one, Isezakicho Blues, it's a song that, when you hear it, you're gonna think, yeah, this is a little bit different than what's going on in Tokyo. Let's try that again.